And we're off.
Yeah, indeed we are. Just going to start with a nice little jaunt through the tutorial level here, just in case we've forgotten to play this game at any point in the past, 3 months of this tournament play.
Very good bunny hops from both of them.
Yep, indeed. Each one of those little jumps saves a couple of frames, which doesn't sound like much, but, over the course of the entire mini chapter, it can save up to a second, so, yeah.
And they finish at pretty much precisely the same time. Perfectly syncing the start of chapter 1.
Yeah, excellent. Now the real run can begin, because now, like, the dash that the crow teaches at the end of prologue, now it's just on full display. It's the foundation of all the speed tech in this game, so now we're just going to be hyper dashing and wall bouncing all over the place, as we're kind of seeing right now. Yeah, so far really solid stuff from both runners. It looked like Tag had a little bit of trouble with the reverse hyperdash on one of those screens and had a little bit of trouble getting onto the falling block there, but still really solid stuff from both runners so far. Alright, so OddBod is out of Forsaken City with a 104, which is just a really great time for that chapter. Tag's not too far behind with a 112, so yeah, really good stuff from both runners so far. Alright, so they're going to be starting here on Old Side if you want to talk about that programmatic.
Yeah, so Old Site is one of the chapters where, like, usually people don't really die much in this chapter, but there's a lot of really technical movement that, if you mess it up, can still cost a ton of time. Like, Old Site is probably the chapter where the movement makes the biggest difference compared to just the strats, because most of the strats aren't too hard, but if you're really fluid with your movement, you can get extremely good times in this chapter. And we'll be seeing a lot of really highly optimized movement, especially at the end of this chapter. Because despite the last section being a part where you can't die, it still makes a really big difference depending on how optimized your movement is.
Yeah, exactly. And, the movement so far from both runners has been pretty solid. I haven't really noticed a lot of mistakes from either one so far. So, yeah, both of them enjoying a
slight
really nice
slip up from Tag. Just barely
managed. Minor slip up as I start saying that.
And for the most part, the Battlins aren't much of a threat. But if you do make a mistake, you have to adjust really quickly to make sure that you don't crash into one of them. And alright, OddBod is now starting to wake. This is the very technical part, the most technical part of Old Site, because it's all just 100% movement. Nothing to kill you, you just have to go as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, and OddBod doing exactly that, moving very fluidly through that last part of the chapter. So, yeah, really excellent stuff. A 149 is, yeah.
Taggerson hitting a spring there, which costs a lot more than it looks. Alright, so Taggerson's only about 10 seconds behind OddBod. There's definitely places where you can make up that difference, especially in Resort, which is one of the harder chapters in the game.
Yeah, Resort's going to be a lot of tight navigation through these Dust Bunny cycles, as we're going to be seeing on full display in this first room. Like, Dust Bunnies really give you all they got, you know, right off the bat.
Yeah, like, Resort is one of those chapters where going too fast through a room can be just as harmful as going too slow. Because if those Dust Bunnies aren't where you expect them to be, you're going to have a lot of trouble. Ooh, Taggerson messing up that wave dash there a little. Can you wave dash off there? Oh wow, you can wave dash off there. I wouldn't expect that to be possible given that there are fuzzies on the ground right there.
Yeah, that really is an interesting thing that Tag was trying to do. You know, took him a couple tries, but yeah, eventually got it.
OddBod moving very quickly through the mess room. This is similar to Awake in Old Site. This is another room where just moving well makes a huge difference in your time. Taggerson fumbling a little bit in the mess room, but mostly just on the exit, which isn't too bad. Ooh, Taggerson looking for a backup in this room. Okay, not too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like Taggerson, you know, just making a couple mistakes early on in this chapter, and that's allowed OddBod to kind of open up a pretty solid lead in this game one, because OddBod has not really been making a ton of mistakes, it looks like.
Yeah, this has been a pretty flawless resort so far for OddBod. Ooh, wow, OddBod making the double cycle skip essentially in that room. Usually it's a lot easier to go over the second Dust Bunny, but if you're really fast through that room, you can actually go under it, and OddBod just barely managed to pull that off. Taggerson coming to the same cycle skip room here, and let's see how he does it. Oh, he goes at just the wrong time to get hit by that second Dust Bunny, unfortunately.
So OddBod coming up on this green elevator shaft. Do you want to talk about
going for demo dash
here?
You want me to explain it?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, you saw OddBod essentially just phase through those Dust Bunnies. So basically, the way that works is it's a very new strat, like only like a week old right now, called the demo dash, where you're able to squeeze through gaps that are 4 pixels wide or larger. So basically, when you're in the crouch state, your hitbox is slightly smaller, and you can actually crouch in midair and then immediately dash forward, which causes your hitbox to be smaller during the dash. And since spikes and Dust Bunnies, which are technically spikes, are always smaller than they look, there's actually a 4 pixel wide gap in those Dust Bunnies in that room. So if you do the crouching demo dash with pixel perfect height, you can actually just go right through that wall. And if you get it first try, you save about 10 seconds. So Taggerson also pulled it off, so a very good time gain for both players.
Yeah, and I believe that was even a first try for Taggerson. So yeah, that's gonna kind of catch him up with OddBod, who I think took I think that was a second try one for him.
Yeah, OddBod died once to it, which I think brings it down to like a 5 or so second save. And both of them went, I wasn't seeing Taggerson's side when OddBod did it, but both of them went for the checkpoint setup, right?
Yep, both of them went for the checkpoint. Yeah.
Yeah,
if you try to do that
if you
checkpoint,
if you don't get the checkpoint, then you lose a ton of time if you die to it, because you start at the very beginning of that room instead of the end of it. So you can take like just 3 seconds or so to grab the checkpoint and make it far safer. Ooh. Very small death for OddBod and Ridge, going for the slightly slower cycle here. It was only about a second slower, so it is pretty safe. Going for the second spike jump in the game. Easy. And how's OddBod gonna do this to him? Oh, nice. He does the ultra and he gets it.
Yeah, Rich can sometimes be one of those chapters where if you're kind of looking past it, like maybe you've had a really solid resort, it can definitely kind of sneak up on you with some, you know, kind of precise tricks that you might mess up. But OddBod, only a couple of minor mistakes that I've been able to see. None.
Whoa, really OddBod goes for that second bubble. I haven't actually seen that one before.
Neither have I. That was cool.
Oh, okay. So second auto Skrilla room. Is OddBod gonna go for any special strats here? Or just gonna take it normally? Seems like he's taking it normally. Alright, Taggerson gets the ultra strat in the first auto Skrilla room as well. Oh, he has to... Ah, he didn't quite get enough distance from that extended dash. Oh, and OddBod dying in that room. You need to time that wall boost really well and use the wind to push you back into it. Okay, he almost misses it again, but saves it by grabbing the wall. Very good recovery from OddBod. And both of the... Oh, Tag didn't quite get to the second block. OddBod getting that ultra off the bubble. It's always great to see people using the snowballs to their advantage, because they're usually one of the more annoying obstacles in the game. But the fact that you can bonk off of them allows for some really interesting strats where you use them to your advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, this being a game with no RNG, if you're kind of moving the same way through each room, you kind of know where that snowball's going to land. So just trusting their movement and trusting their strat and it paying off. So
in a similar case to Resort, since the snowballs are cycle based, any slight even just a very slight deviation in your movement, like if you're going slightly too slow or slightly faster than usual, the snowballs do often end up where you don't expect them, which can make it pretty difficult if you're not super consistent with those rooms.
Meanwhile, we have OddBod starting here in Mirror Temple. Pretty soon there's going to be, more enemies.
And OddBod gets beat. That's a very nice corner boost strat. It's fairly new, and it gives you a ton of momentum if you get the corner boost at the end. Oh, OddBod messing up in the bubble room. Going for Oh wow, first try DVS.
Okay, DVS as a backup. That's interesting.
I've never seen DVS used as a backup strat before.
Yeah, ordinarily like that death would have lost time by getting DVS first try after. Okay.
DVS actually, I think, made up for the time loss, like broke even with if he hadn't died there. See if Tag will go for the yeet as well. Yeah, definitely going for the yeet here. Let's see if he does it. Doesn't get the corner boost, but moves pretty quickly through the first room.
Yeah, at least I have to ride the momentum off the dash platform.
OddBod starting the second section of Temple. You're going to see lots of Seekers, which can be manipulated in various ways to do things. Oh, Taggerson died at the start of the long room, so you may have to go for a slower cycle here. Oh, okay, good backup from Taggerson. Ooh. Oh, wow. The OddBod messing up that strat a little, but still managing to hit both switches himself. And getting that Ultra, getting it straight into the switch.
And kind of like what you're talking about with snowballs, like, you know, in the unraveling section, you're usually using the Seekers to your advantage, like trying to get them to do what you want them to do and manipulating their movements. But if you're even like a pixel off, they might end up doing something that you're not really expecting them to do.
Yeah,
so.
That last room, or I think third to last room, where he knocked the Seeker down into the switch, that's a really tight one, because not only do you have to bump the Seeker, which is pretty dangerous, you also need to make sure that it hits the switch, or else you have to kind of go grab the switch yourself, which is a few seconds slower. Ooh, Taggerson not getting the extended from that room. Going for a backup. Not too bad. Ooh, OddBod messing up the wall once, getting a second try. And in the Theo section, there are a lot of strats that involve ultra dashing into Theo, and then you just get a huge boost, which allows you to bonk the Seeker at the start of the room in both of those too. And the Theo section overall is probably one of the hardest segments of the entire game, because you have to learn completely new mechanics to speedrun with.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically the most technical section in the game, because you're throwing Theo, you're dashing Theo, you're constantly dashing. It's really hard to get acclimated to after, you know, all the previous chapters.
Let's see if OddBod can get the fast cycle in the eyeball room. Very well done. Alright, now it's Taggerson starting the Theo section. Let's see how it does. Whoa! It looked like he dashed past Theo, but he actually picked him up. That was interesting. Ooh, messing up the second ultra room a little, but backing it up pretty well. Not quite hitting Theo with the button, threw him a little short. Or hitting the button with Theo. My bad. Alright, OddBod is now doing Lake Skip, which is one of the harder skips in the game. It used to be pretty much pixel perfect, but it's a little more lenient now. Nevertheless, it's still a really hard trick, and he gets the second try. So I think that's still a time save if you get it after one mistake. If you get it first try, it's a pretty huge time save.
Yeah, bot moving very well the feathers so far, as Taggerson in the last room of Mirror Temple here.
And I believe they're both keyboard players, right? Is one of them a controller player, or are they both keyboard players? You know?
I think they're both keyboard players. I'm not 100% sure on Taggerson.
Judging by the way that OddBod's feathers were moving, it looked like he was playing keyboard. No, Taggerson's, that's definitely controlling movement right there, so...
Yeah. And the reason that matters is because, like, with each degree... Or you might be able to explain the feather movement better, but, like, basically you can move faster with an analog controller than you can with D-pad or keyboard.
Yeah, because with keyboard or D-pad, you only have 8 distinct directions you can move in, but you get full analog movement with a controller. It's an extremely small difference, though, and like as has been proven by other keyboard players, by like Fladerby and M-Sushi, you can still get really good times even if you play keyboard. So it's pretty much a negligible difference. It's all just down to preference, really, which controller you use. And like a reason why a lot of other players might prefer keyboard over controller, even if the feathers are a little slower, is because it's much easier to get exactly the dash angle that you want to. Because I know some controller players had problems where you'd be very close to one angle but be slightly off, and you end up dashing in a direction that you don't want to. So I know a lot of controller players opt to use the D-pad during most of the game and then only use the analog stick for the feather. And OddBod fast falling through that ravine, which is a very tight strat, but he gets it first try. And if you mess up that third ravine, it's a huge time loss. So it was pretty risky, but I'm guessing you can get it pretty consistently now.
Yeah, I'd imagine that sitting at a, what is it, 30-18 that OddBod has, that's kind of something that like you kind of feel you have to go for. You're just trying to save time anywhere that you can.
Oh, OddBod is a controller player. He just uses the D-pad for some of the feathers. Okay, thanks, Drakon. And OddBod starting the battle and fight, which is one of the more interesting parts of the run. Similar to Oshiro, it's a cycle-based boss fight. I think a little bit less cycle dependent, because if you're moving fast enough, you can almost always hit her before she gets the chance to attack. And most strats are able to get around her attacks pretty consistently anyway. Nevertheless, if you are too slow in the battle section, there are a lot of things that can go wrong, so it's definitely one of the harder parts of the run. OddBod getting the Ultra, not using the feather, just fair bit faster. Alright, Taggerson's coming up on the same ravine. We'll see what he does there. Dash just up, make it a little safer, and then pass falls. Okay, well done from Taggerson.
And Taggerson's been having a really solid run so far. I'd say not really a ton of major mistakes. Like I think I died on the last screen of Unraveling, but overall just like a little bit of sloppiness here and there, and that's what's really put OddBod so far ahead right now.
Taggerson not getting a fast strat from that last Kevin, unfortunately. It looked like he might have gotten cornered while trying to hyper off of it.
Yeah, not like getting that battle line boost is kind of, like maybe it's only a half second, but if you're, saving a half second on your opponent, like, every 3 or 4 screens,
yeah,
you're eventually going to collect, like, a lot of time.
Is it, for those who don't know, if you hyper bunny hop off of that last Kevin, you get the momentum boost from the Kevin twice, which gives you an incredible amount of momentum. And in the room where you first hit battle in, you can just boost right into her by skipping the cutscene soon, and you don't have to dash into her at all. You just go right into her. And it's another very impressive but very difficult strat, because in order to hyper bunny hop on that Kevin, you need to, your first jump needs to be extremely short, and plus you also have to react to the massive amount of momentum that you get from hyper bunny hopping off the block. Okay, OddBod did very well in the battle and fight. Now has a double dash, and he's gonna quickly make his way out of this room. Very good reflection from OddBod.
Yeah, very good run so far. I noticed that their split timer was still green at the end of the chapter, so that's something that might be worth monitoring heading into Summit.
Oh yeah, that means he's on PB pace, right?
Yeah, 21:31 heading into Summit. That is just spicy.
That is incredible, yeah. In fact, that's even that's like sub 30 pace, right?
I think it might be, but that would have to be like just. I mean, they're capable of an incredible summit, but.
A good start to summit for OddBod. This double dash introduces a lot of new ways to get through rooms and allows you to go much faster overall, which, since it is a brand new mechanic, it's a little harder to learn for newer runners, but it also feels very nice to be able to dash twice. Alright, Taggerson in the last room of Reflection, which can also be one of the most costly ways to die if you don't get it first try, but he seems to be doing pretty well. Getting a reverse Hyper Ultra at the very end and making his way out. See if OddBod gets the pass start here. Alright, he grabs that block before grabbing Battle In, which is slightly faster than grabbing the block afterwards. It's a very tight corner jump, but it's pretty safe to go for.
Alright, so Taggerson is joining OddBod in the summit here, just about a minute behind, and OddBod is gonna be going for some Dream Hyper. Yep, there we go.
OddBod doing Dream Hypers out of these blocks. If you input a diagonal dash and jump immediately upon reaching the end of a Dream block, you get a lot of speed, which is pretty difficult to do, especially because if you dash a little too late, you'll just dash diagonally out of the block, which can be very dangerous. Okay, now we're at 1500 meters, which has some very tight cycle skips in it. OddBod getting the first cycle skip. Okay, second cycle skip. That was a little close, but it's usually pretty tight. One of the harder skips in Summit. And then this room is pretty infamous for being one of the tighter cycles in Summit, and he gets that one first try too, so very well done from OddBod. Pretty flawless 1500 so far, especially given that it's probably one of the hardest segments of Summit.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm just out of superlatives for OddBod right now. I just kind of want to watch this run. Like, this is just like one of the legends of the Celeste community, just absolutely dealing right now.
OddBod is doing very well this run.
Even bought the snowball in 2000 meter. That's alright.
Yeah. That one snowball room. It's the only snowball room in Summit, but it's still one of the most dangerous rooms in the chapter. And then that room that OddBod just did before, it was one of the biggest skips in Summit as well, where you can just hyper off that block and make it to the end without using it for the majority of the room.
Although it gets out of 2,000 meter as Taggerson dealing pretty nicely with the rooms in 1,500, and yeah, OddBod's coming up on Mirror Temple with the Seekers removed, so, you know, just all the cool movement of the original chapter.
Yeah, so, like, there are no Seekers in this part of Summit, but there are lots of these moving blocks that can give you pretty crazy momentum if you use them to your advantage. And then we have another one of the biggest skips in Summit right here, where you do 2 corner jumps off these spikes, and OddBod gets it first try. And that lets you skip just the entire bottom room, which normally you have to take a bubble up to get that key. Well, that's a very interesting strat from OddBod, using the momentum from that block. And I'm sure we'll be seeing OddBod going for door skip. There's the first door. And second door.
So OddBod now onto the first original portion of the summit, which is 3,000, the final climb. Pretty soon we're going to be reintroduced to the wind mechanics. Now they're going to be holding us down, then eventually pulling us up. So
yeah,
really hoping things go well here.
And this is actually a very unique part compared to Ridge, where the wind is pushing you sideways. Now it's pushing you vertically, so it pretty much increases or decreases the gravity, which in this case it makes it a lot harder to go vertically. So you need to dash against the wind in order to move up. Ooh, OddBod skipping that flag, but getting through it nicely.
Another thing that sets 3,000 meters apart is that usually checkpoints are marked by screen transitions, but now we get this giant screen with a bunch of checkpoint flags scattered throughout. So if you skip one of those flags,
yeah,
you know, you can save, like, you know, maybe a second, but you risk losing even more.
Very nice downdraft from OddBod. Now for updraft, where the gravity is reduced, and that may seem like it makes the game easier because you can jump higher, but with the way these rooms are designed, some of the parts are really tight. Especially given that you have to fast fall really often in order to make sure that you're getting through the rooms as fast as possible. So, judging by the live split, OddBod is still on PB pace. So, if he pulls this off correctly, he could. I think he can even get a sub 30. It'll be very close though.
Yeah, it has 30 seconds for these final 4 flags for sub 30, and I think a little bit more to get a PB here. So yeah, just really hoping they hold their nerve right now. Skipping flag 2. Okay, come on, OddBod.
Not quite sub 30, but a very good run overall, and a great PB for OddBod.
Yeah, 30:05. That's an insane time, like not just for a race, but in general. So get some GG, get some hype in chat for OddBod, right? I'm speechless. I can't do
That was a great run from OddBod. Should we switch audio to Taggerson now that OddBod's finished?
Yes, it should switch shortly. I forgot Markham was done. There we go. Yeah,
Right.
so OddBod is now the winner on stream, and Taggerson is just going to be finishing out their run here.
Taggerson doing pretty well in Updraft. Best time of the tournament so far. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it would
Good to
have
know,
to be.
Bob.
I
Yeah.
think Tej may have gotten like a 31 something, but no, this has to be the best time so far. Yeah, so Taggerson on the last 5 flags here, and again, this is like a very solid run for Taggerson. It's going to be end up being very close to what their PB is on SRC, but I mean, what are you going to do when OddBod plays like that, you know?
Yeah. OddBod really is a Celeste legend. Yeah, not quite PB pace for Tag, but very close to it. Oh. Probably only about 30 seconds off of PB, which is a pretty solid time anyway.
Taggerson with a 34 even, so get some GG in chat for Taggerson. And yeah, really solid race from both competitors, and they're going to be doing a race 2 pretty shortly here after. So yeah, well done to both, and we will get things started here soon, I think.